The chandeliers above the great hall of Varnak Prime shimmer with light harvested from dying stars, their spectral colors refracting through crystal glass mined from a moon lost to time. In the center of the domed room stood a raised auction platform, glistening with ceremonial polish and authority. Crowds pressing around it. Nobility, high-ranking officers, corporate magnates, and warlords, each armored in arrogance, each humming with the feverish anticipation of power. Tonight was special. Tonight, a human child was on the docket. Slavers had whispered about the boy across the outer ring for months. Captured from a backwater Deathworld colony during a sweep operation, he had resisted interrogation, resisted sedation, and resisted all forms of behavioral taming. He had, despite being 12 standard cycles old, broken the wrist of a Creel handler with nothing but a snap-bone shard from his own arm. He hadn't screamed. He hadn't even blinked. That alone had doubled his price. They called him Alexei, though his origins were unclear. Genetic scans confirmed full-blooded Homo sapiens. The Handling Guild insisted on shock collars, energy restraints, and a level 3 sedation field, despite which the boy remained eerily alert. His pale blue eyes met everyone's gaze without flinching, without submission. The Emperor's nephew, attending via projection, commented on the child's predatory stillness. The bidding opened at 4 million crowns. It escalated rapidly. There were no cries, no tears, no begging. Alexei stood in the reinforced containment cell, silent and watching. Even when the Baron from the Hattertech Dominion placed a winning bid at 10 million crowns, the boy didn't react. That unnerved the crowd more than any outburst could have. The Baron's personal guard arrived shortly after to transport the prize. 12 soldiers. Anti-human suppressants. Reinforced armor. They had seen humans kill far more with far less. As they moved the boy out of the auction hall, a single whisper reached the ears of an old mercenary in the back. He froze. "She's coming." The voice hadn't sounded like a child's. His memory, dulled by age and war, sparked a buried image, blood, ash, and bones arranged in spirals. A forgotten name surfaced in his mind, one that had been blacklisted and purged from the Empire's public records a century ago. He left the auction without collecting his winnings. The crowd dispersed. The money changed hands. The Baron prepared to display his new prize. Across the stars, in a forbidden sector orbiting a radioactive husk of a planet, the soil began to boil. Trees blackened. Wind reversed. From beneath the cracked crust of a dead forest, iron legs unfolded and planted themselves into the poisoned earth. A hut rose from the ruin. Its chicken-like legs bent and adjusted until balance was found. Doors that hadn't opened in 100 years creaked under forgotten weight. Inside, the air shimmered. Time twisted. A black cloak hung from a hook fashioned from a spinal column. A kettle screamed on a fire that hadn't been lit. A mirror blinked, and a figure stepped through. She had no name in the languages of this galaxy. But among humans, those who whisper around fires in forgotten parts of Earth, she was called Baba Yaga. Her eyes open as her son's whisper echoed across the void. She moved. On Varnak Prime, the Baron reveled in his acquisition. The boy had been transferred to the Baronial Moon, a private retreat known only to a handful of elite. It was secured by quantum-fold encryption, guarded by elite AI sentries, surrounded by defense satellites, and equipped with counter-human countermeasures. Thermal dead zones, zero, O2 corridors, mind-jamming frequencies. None of it mattered. The boy waited in silence, confined to an isolation sphere. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. But he never slept. The Baron ordered preliminary experimentation. His geneticists ran tests. They sliced tissue, tested regenerative capacity, muscle density, reflex potential. The boy endured without a sound. They called it an evolutionary anomaly. They never called it what it was. A warning. In an ancient observatory deep within the Empire's core, an aged xenoanthropologist received an encrypted fragment. The data was incomplete, distorted, but the visual confirmed the structure walking through a destroyed outpost. No engines, no emissions, just legs, mechanical, organic, unknown. She recognized it. She opened sealed archives using forgotten clearance codes. The last recorded incident matched the current timestamp. 93 years prior, during the early phase of the Human Containment Initiative, a mining colony on Tal Valari 4 had gone dark. A lone survivor had emerged weeks later, insane, speaking of a hut with legs, a woman with bone eyes, and soldiers turned into marionettes. That survivor had been executed for sedition. Now the same signs returned, but louder, closer. The xenoanthropologist sent a warning to the Empire's intelligence corps. It was dismissed. She was marked for surveillance. On the edge of Hadrotech space, a shipyard exploded. No warning. No survivors. Recordings from drone satellites showed only a flicker, a shimmer, as if space had blinked, and then the station was gone. At the center of the wreckage was a message, carved into the hull of a drifting escape pod with an unknown force. Return what you stole. The Baron scoffed. He doubled his guard. He initiated lockdown. He ordered the boy placed in cryostasis, fearing biological retaliation. The cryo chamber froze over. The systems failed. Alexei stood outside it, not breathing hard, not smiling, just watching the panic. She's already here, he said. The Baron didn't understand. The hut landed on the dark side of the moon in total silence. No sensors registered it. No alarms triggered. The air grew still. The stars above dimmed. Gravity inverted for 12 seconds. Half the personnel on the moon went mad. The other half went missing. Bones were found, cleaned, arranged. Spiral patterns from Earth folklore that hadn't been seen in this part of the galaxy ever. A recording showed a woman walking barefoot through solid walls, trailing smoke. Her eyes did not reflect light. Her voice, when it emerged, short-circuited all electronic systems across the facility. You took my son. The Baron tried to flee. Every exit looped back to the beginning. Hallways rotated into each other. Time turned soft. The more he ran, the younger he became. Eventually, only a crying child remained, huddled beneath a desk, whispering the name of a mother he had never known. Baba Yaga found Alexei in the observation wing, sitting calmly. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The boy reached up. She lifted him into her arms. In her presence, the laws of physics yielded. The hut rose from the moon, leaving behind the barren surface scorched into symbols. The Empire's intelligence agency tried to intercept the ship. Their vessels turned inside out, not destroyed, reversed, bones outside flesh, metal dripping upward. The Empire convened an emergency session of the High Council. Only once in recorded galactic history had the chambers ever been closed to all non-military personnel. This was the second. 12 admirals, 3 warlords, and synthetic intelligence presiding over border anomalies gathered in silence as data poured across the holodoubles. Unexplained erasures of outposts, folding of space-time corridors, reverse aging in isolated moon bases, psychic disturbances on a dozen frontier colonies. They all trace back to one name whispered through intercepted transmissions and recovered from dying minds. Baba Yaga. The name had no translation. Every attempt to parse its phonetic meaning resulted in corrupted linguistic subroutines or audio distortion. One AI researcher noted its acoustic profile did not conform to the standard curvature of galactic dialects. It felt human. A report was read aloud by a veteran spymaster. The boy, Alexei, had been extracted from the baronial moon, whereabouts now unknown. The recovery ship he had allegedly escaped on no longer appeared in any star chart. Surveillance footage showed it both lifting off and not lifting off simultaneously. The Baron had been found, biologically alive, mentally absent, regressed to infancy, speaking in a dialect of ancient Terran Slavic that hadn't been used since before the first Ark ships left Earth. The spy master concluded with 2 words: existential threat. Fleet Marshal Dravis ordered an immediate full-scale operation, not a recovery mission, elimination. Every human colony was to be locked down, every known Terran bloodline monitored. An elite detachment, the Nighthounds, was dispatched to Earth itself to uncover any remnants of the origin. If the legends were true and the Baba Yaga had emerged from humanity's cradle, then Earth would reveal the root. The Council approved Scorched Planet protocols. The fleet departed within hours. As they arrived in Sol System, They found it curiously empty. Probes recorded silence. Satellites appeared, then disappeared. A light distortion flickered just above Earth's magnetosphere. It pulsed once, and the command ship's AI stopped functioning. Not crashed, wiped. The crew aged 5 years in 20 minutes. Some turned to bone. Others vanished entirely, leaving behind only shadows scorched into bulkheads. A voice emerged from the void. Not broadcast, not transmitted. Heard, you step on old ground with dirty hands. Fleet Marshal Dravis died of a cerebral aneurysm before his ship even reached orbit. The Nighthounds touched down in a region labeled Eastern Europe on outdated maps. They encountered no resistance. They followed heat signatures into forests older than their species. The trees grew in impossible spirals. Roots crossed timelines. The deeper they went, the younger they became. They found a cabin with iron teeth. Only one returned. His suit camera footage showed him screaming in a child's voice, tearing at his own face. Behind him, the figure stood, a tall woman cloaked in shadow, her fingers trailing bone. She didn't move. She didn't speak. But everything around her aged backward. He repeated one line before his heart stopped. She keeps the bones for the fire. The Council initiated Protocol Thanatos. 5 black hole warheads were launched from hyperspace into Sol's core. All disappeared before reaching proximity. Trajectory logs showed them veering off course, but there was no force acting on them. Sol dimmed, then pulsed. All ships within the system vanished from Central Command logs. The Empire had no choice but to declare Sol lost. Not destroyed, not occupied. Simply gone. Across the outer rim, human colonies went silent. Not a single distress call. No evidence of attack. Scouts sent to investigate found only strange arrangements. Rows of shoes placed at the entrances of settlements. Plates of food left untouched. Fires still warm. No signs of struggle. Just absence. A pattern began to form. Those who had participated in the auction started dying. Not assassinated. Erased. One noble awoke buried in a coffin beneath his estate, clawing at the inside. Another was found hanging upside down from a tree made of knives, whispering nursery rhymes in human dialects. A corporate leader drowned in her own tears after dreaming of a forest that watched her. An admiral was found turned to stone in the shape of a child's drawing of a bad man. The spy master went into hiding, deep beneath the core of the Fortress of Silence. He sealed all records, purged all files, activated 10 overlapping AI firewalls. Then he heard knocking, not on the door, on his bones. He begged the darkness for forgiveness. The darkness did not answer. Alexei, meanwhile, sat inside the hut as it crossed the fabric of space between stars. He watched realities bend and stretch like cloth. He no longer needed food or rest. The hut gave him what he needed: knowledge, language, instinct. He read from a book written in no known alphabet. He traced lines that shimmered when touched. He saw futures that unraveled when noticed. His mother didn't speak much. She didn't need to, but when she did, stars dimmed to listen. He learned that once, long ago, the galaxy had feared humans, not for their weapons or warships, but for the things they buried and forgot. The Yaga had been one such thing, a protector, a punishment, a promise. When humanity left Earth to join the stars, they had thought her myth. But myth, like gravity, never truly disappears. And someone, some fool, had touched her blood. At the edge of the galaxy, a small rebel fleet caught wind of the chaos. Smugglers, mercenaries, exiled captains, all human, watched the Empire's reaction with cold, calculating eyes. They had always lived under pressure, seen their kind enslaved, dismissed, commodified. Now the tables had turned. The Baba Yaga wasn't just vengeance. She was a shift. They didn't try to contact her. They simply began to move. In quiet corners of the galaxy, rumors grew. The humans had awakened something that could not be reasoned with. A weapon older than war. A force that operated outside the laws the galaxy had agreed upon. But worse than that, she had a reason. A child. The Council's last hope lay in the one entity the Baba Yaga hadn't yet touched, the Archivist, locked within a stasis vault on Arcus Theta. The archivist was a being of pure neural resonance, designed to store and sort information unclouded by emotion. The council awoke it, uploaded every report, every scream, every inexplicable anomaly. It processed for 3 days. Then it said, "She is a force-bound tether, a concept anchored in human collective memory. She cannot be destroyed, only satisfied. Return the child." The council explained they no longer had the child. The archivist went dark. Across the core systems, random earthquakes shattered megacities. Tides reversed on waterless planets. 1,000 people across 4 species woke up with human children's voices and began singing lullabies that no one had taught them. They didn't stop. An armada of anti-Psi dreadnoughts was deployed. It vanished before reaching its first waypoint. Not destroyed, just missing. Alexei began to ask questions. His mother answered without moving her lips. She spoke in smells, colors, touches of wind. He asked why she had waited. She replied that some storms must sleep before they rise. He asked what would happen next.